Years later, I sang with him in Chicago and also in Buenos Aires. He was not old, but his breath was so short. He could not sing the long phrase. You probably know the record when he sings this from no, from Hamlet. When he sings, there's a certain phrase. He goes up to the high G and again in one breath.
Right.
Could never do it again.
Did you ever hear, when you were in Germany, did you ever hear Selma Kurtz?
No.
Art, when you're Saturday afternoons, do you listen to the opera?
Sometime.
I'm wondering if there is the same interest in the younger singers. Do you find delight in perhaps finding a voice that appeals to you now?
Oh yes, surely there are plenty of voices. Each generation has its voice, his quality and his share. A little episode. We were sitting one day in front of the Festspielhaus in Bayreuth, and Siegfried Wagner was asked, "What do you think about the past generation or the present generation? How do they compare vocally?" You mustn't forget, he said, we had at that time this and this tenor in Urlus. We had Scaria, was a great bass who sang Gornemans. We had another big name who sang Wodan there. And Siegfried Wagner said, "It is true, they have been great artists, but we have exactly as great artists as in the past. Look here. Here we have, for instance, we have, say, Leider. We have Shaw, who sings Wotan. We have Kipnis, who sings Gornemans. We have Maria Müller, who sings Sieglinde. So they are at least as good as the first. So each generation has its good singers and good qualities. You couldn't say about the golden age. You're inclined always to think the past was more beautiful than the present. Maybe sometime later we will have an entire different opinion.
Sure.
No, thank you very much.
You're never as good as this minute.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
So think of some kind.
Did you ever sing with Rosa Poncel?
No. I sang, but I didn't sing with her, but I sang on the same season in Covent Garden, where she sang with Geely. I was an entire different wing.
Yeah.
We have a German wing, we have an Italian wing, and I sang at that time Rosenkavalier, Götterdämmerung, Tristan, and so on. She sang, if I'm not mistaken, it was Masked Ball and something.
Her voice had a very unique quality to it, didn't it?
Beautiful quality. One of the most beautiful voices there was.
Mm.
It has an entire different quality than, for instance, Milanov.
Yeah. And yet, there are times when the phraseology between Milanov and Poncel is quite similar.
Yes.
Both very unique. Both
Yeah.
There was once a tenor that sang both in Europe and this country too, but I don't know exactly when, who was said to have been as good as Caruso. It was Alessandro Bonci.
I heard about him.
But
I heard records about him. He was possibly as good technically as Caruso, but he didn't have the same instrument. It didn't have the same quality. No, no, this is something you can. Both vocal cords, or both people have two vocal cords. They are made out of flesh and blood, and it's still all the difference in the world. A tiny little bit of a scratch in a vocal cord can change the entire thing. I've seen many singers who had nodes, and the doctor told them, don't worry, I'm going to operate, and you will be quiet 2 months. You're not going to sing, you're not going to talk, and then you're going to be exactly as good as before. They're cutting out something as small as the end of a pin, and the voice is gone.
Lucrezia Borri, that happened to her, didn't it? Borri's voice,
Yes.
the nodules. Did you ever hear Marcel Journet?
Yes.
What was his voice like?
Oh, big, enormous, big. A lot of resonance and colossal range. He could sing.
With a straw yet.
Thank you.
He could sing high tones, very high tones, and I heard him sing, for instance, Escamillo, and I heard him sing Mephistopheles. And it was in Wiesbaden, immediately after World War I. Wiesbaden was at that time occupied by the French army, and the commander at that time of the army insisted he wanted to have French singers, not all the time, but as guests. And so they brought the tenor, I forgot his name, and they brought Marcel Journet, and also a French girl who sang Marguerite. The scenery in Faust in Wiesbaden was so that in the center of the stage there was an opening, and two men were watching underneath in the basement, and just when Faust is shouting, Satan, come up, Satan, come up, he has to sing 3 times, Satan, come up. And then the two men are opening up this desk, it's a sort, and then Mephistopheles is brought up with a little elevator. He comes up and he sings then Me voici. And I was sitting in the audience, and I wanted to hear, for the first time I wanted to hear Marcel Journet. And the tenor sang in French, À moi, Satan, à moi, the loudest. And here, it comes an enormous crescendo orchestra, drum, bum, dum, bum, and he sings, Me voici. No Mephistopheles. It didn't come up. We heard him sing from the basement, Me voici. D'où vient ta surprise? Ne suis-je pas mis à ta guise? Les pays au côté. He said everything from the basement. They didn't bring him up. And finally, after about 2 pages, they brought him up. And he was standing there and continued singing. And on the following day, there was a scandal in the opera. The commander accused the management of sabotage against a French singer. And the manager said, I couldn't help it. Two German men are standing there in the basement and they are waiting for their cue. The cue is Satan herbei, Satan herbei, herbei zu mir. Three times Satan herbei. And then this is their cue. But it's, they're not saying in French.
Yeah.
They didn't hear it.
So they just stood there.
And, so and he was motioning, and he said, no, no, Satan herbei, we are waiting for that, you know.
Oh, that's a good story.
Well,
Good story.
this is the first time I heard him sing. Then it came this song of the golden calf, Livador. And Jonet sang a high G like the best baritone, you know. You cannot imagine. Beautiful, but he was short, and he had high heels, and his legs didn't look very well, you know. When you have high heels, it looks like his legs look like this. You know. Oh, yeah.
But a great singer. A great
Oh yes, yes, very. Then Escamillo, he sang very well, Escamillo. That's the only times I heard him sing.
There were three contraltos that, two of which I think were American-born, that often sang both the Italian and the German repertoire. And I was wondering if you knew any of them. One was Julia Culp. Do you remember Julia?
No, I didn't hear her. No, I knew about her, yes.
Louise Homer.
Oh, I sang with her.
Ah,
Yeah, I sang with her in Chicago.
was she a great voice?
She sang very, very beautiful voice. She sang, was the opera, The Prophet in Chicago. Oh, this is a big, big part. She has to sing as high as like a dramatic soprano. And a good actress she was, and a very good looking woman too.
Pretty.
And Samuel Barber's aunt.
Yes. Ernestine Schumann, did you hear her?
No, I didn't sing her. I didn't hear her, no.
Yes. She would have actually been, by the time you came to this country to sing in Chicago, that would have been in 1923, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yes. By that time, she would have been probably past her ability anyway, I think. Schumann was older than Louise Homer, wasn't she?
I imagine so,
Yes.
yes.
A personal curiosity. If you have a performance, say at 8 o'clock in the evening, what did you do in preparation that day? What kind of warm-up? How much before the opera did you rest? What exactly did you do to prepare?
Usually there was, I lied down after luncheon. I slept for an hour. Then I took a long walk, and a long walk like, for instance, a mile or 2 miles. Then I had a cup of tea or 2 cups of tea with a little bit of dry toast. That was all I had. And then approximately an hour and a half before the performance, I was in the dressing room to put on my makeup, my costume, vocalizing a little bit for myself. That was my routine.
I see. When you vocalized, did you start very heavily, lightly?
Lightly.
I see.
Hmm.
I see.
Do you have wonderful memories of Wiesbaden when you were there as
Oh yes, I was 5 years.
yeah.
5 years. This was my second engagement. And my first engagement was, so to say, a little bridge for Wiesbaden. And in Hamburg, I was completely a greenhorn. I was very, very well trained in singing, but not very well trained in acting. And I realized at that time that it is not necessary to be such a good singer when when you are in the opera. It's more important to know how to act and how to be dramatically outstanding. I also realized that most of the opera singers don't really know how to sing. I mean, technically. But having the routine, having the know-how to be on the stage and to bring over your personality or your tone or sound on over the orchestra to communicate with an audience. This is more important than the actual fact of good singing. We had at that time in the opera on the second floor a box which was never for sale. This was for the artists, elderly artists, young artists, newcomers and so. This was when they wanted to hear a performance or to hear a new singer and this was our box. 6, 8 persons could easily be there. It was right there near the stage. I was living in that box as a beginner, you know. I heard almost every performance there. And I watched carefully, I realized how important it is to know the stage and to know how to act and to know it and to do not, and it is not only to know what to do, it's to know what not to do. And the, most of the young singers, even if they are very talented, they have 6 pair of hands. They have 5 feet. They don't know where to go, to the left or to the right. They always are swimming with their arms. This is what we had to learn. I realized at that time that no gesture can be more expressive than moving constantly with one hand. And on the other hand, one has to have one hand with which to underline a phrase. Yes, Hamburg was very, very fine. But Wiesbaden, there I was, so to say, like feeling this is where I belong. I was not a beginner anymore. I knew what to do. And I sang my first Hagen in Götterdämmerung, for which I was paid 35 marks. 35 marks. A mark is 25 cents.
That time,
There was not very much to eat in Germany. I was very thin and hungry. It was during the war. Everything was substitute. Bread was substitute, honey was substitute, sugar was substitute, meat didn't exist, you know. The only thing which was real was wine, because it's right there on the Rhine, you know. And my first experience to sing Hagen was in the Hagen town, Worms, where this is the legend, where all the Nibelungen,
Yes.
the gods and Brunhildes and all are walking on the streets right there. You see. And there's an enormous monument of Hagen standing there with his shield and having on top of the shield all the gold, the Nibelungen gold. And he's standing there looking out to the Rhine. It's an enormous big monument, a giant of a person. In here, just before the performance, I sang my first Hagen. I was You could see all my ribs. I was hungry. And I came there and I stood there. And yeah, I looked up to that giant and I said to myself, tonight I'm going to sing you.
Oh. When you had an opportunity to go either to Vienna or to Berlin, what made you decide where to go?
The train.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I never heard that.
The train came. That didn't make any difference.
So you just, whichever came first, you got on? Oh. Yeah, I have something I don't know how to ask you because I don't know what sort of memories it evokes, but you were actually interred for a time in a concentration camp, weren't you?
It was not a real concentration camp. It was shall we say, a sort of a mixture between a prison and a concentration camp. Uh, I was still at that time a Russian citizen, and I could live free. And then the Russians started to arrest the Germans in Russia, and so the Germans did the same thing with the Russians in there. So one day I had to register every day twice on the police station. And one morning, this was in the morning and in the afternoon, and one morning I came there to register, and one of the policemen said, "You have to follow me, come." So he brought me down to this half prison and half concentration, and there I was not too long. Somebody guaranteed from that I'm not a spy.
Was it true, there's a great story that you actually had an audition in the prison?
No, in the prison I sang. This is not true. I sang in the prisons. For me, didn't have anything. I had a cell for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have anything to do, and so I was singing there. And then I heard another voice from another cell calling my name. And this was a tenor, but whom I sang in a choir.
Oh.
And he said, "Are you here?" He said, "No, I wish I could. I wouldn't." And so the only privilege I had was that they brought over this tenor to me. We could spend the day together in the same cell. No,
It was a press agent's dream.
press agent, yes.
It's so hard to separate what is true and what isn't. That's why, I think that's one reason why an interview like this is so important. In the future, if anyone wants to know, what happened to the great Kipnis, then we have the archive, we can go and you said right there that it wasn't true. So we know. Did you sing with Jussi Björling?
Oh, yes, many times.
Could you tell us what he was like as a singer and as a person also? We're very intrigued with him.
You know how good he was as a singer.
Yes.
That he had a magnificent voice, and he was very musical too. Very reliable. As a person, he was cool, like most of the Scandinavian people.
Mm-hmm.
Very pleasant. Liked to eat, and especially he liked to drink.
Mm-hmm. You were close friends?
No, not close friends, but good friends. Good friends. I have some photos together with him. I sang with him in San Francisco, in Vienna, and here. We have been under the same management, Charlie Wagner.
Yeah.
Yes.
They called him Björling, didn't they?
Björling. Yes. I remember I arrived one day from Copenhagen to Stockholm. I had a concert in Copenhagen, and I was from Copenhagen. I went to another concert to Stockholm, And I had with me, the people told me the aquavit is not good in Stockholm. So I took a bottle of aquavit with me. When I came to Stockholm, I called up Björling, and he said, "What did you bring with you?" And I said, "Not very much. A bottle of Danish aquavit." "Aquavit, I will be over very soon." So it didn't take very long, and the bottle of aquavit was gone. Yeah. And no, he was very, very, very nice. I sang with him for the first time in Vienna.
What did you sing?
Faust.
Oh. Oh.
His Salut d'Amore is one of the most beautiful things on record. It must have been wonderful in person, too.
Yes, he was very, very nice, very pleasant, very simple. He sang it in German. We all did.
What a good singer. What a good singer.
No, I think he was really the real beautiful voice, which could be after Caruso, was the most beautiful voice.
The recordings that we hear of Björling are very faithful then, aren't they?
Yes.
Most of them.
Mhm.
Very faithful.
I sang with him also a great deal. Sang with him also Missa Solemnis. I don't know, you're not familiar, you don't have this recording. Here it is. With Toscanini. It has been just recently, not released. It is only for members of the Toscanini Society. By the way, Milanov, Castagna, Björling, and myself. We are the quartet.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Very famous recording.
What?
Yes.
It's
Very
a famous recording. Oh.
Oh, yes.
I know, but it's not released, not
No.
in public. Here it is.
Bruna Castagna, you sang
Yes.
with
Yeah,
her.
sure.
Lovely, lovely voice. Beautiful.
Then I sang with him also Verdi Requiem with Björling. Great deal. I don't have a recording of that.
Have you heard the few recordings of Eduard Dureski, the bass?
No,
Not a...
no. I don't know really. I never heard. I don't know how does he sound.
Well, it's so hard for me because you know the technique of singing, and I don't know. Many of these singers, Tamagno is an example, sound to me as if they had promise, but no technique at all. You know, bad production, very bad production at times. And do you find that some of the older singers were not very consistent, that their performances could vary?
It is very difficult to judge when you hear an acoustical record. You know, you don't know if the voice has been concentrated. You don't know if the singer had finesse or the singer had any intentions. I have my own, a few my own acoustical recordings. They are not as bad. You still can judge if I'm capable to do a phrase or to bring out the meaning of a word or the meaning of an aria. But thank you.
We hope it's satisfactory. If not,
Well, if it is not satisfactory, not tipped.
well, we're used to that.
When you made your acoustic recordings, do you recall that when you had to sing a fortissimo, did you have to turn away
Oh, sure.
and stand?
Oh, yes.
So,
We had to turn away, and even later on, not only the acoustical recording, but even that so-called electrical recordings, the microphone didn't have the strength to take in the whole volume of our good voice. I had either to turn away or go or step backwards. For instance, in 1928-29, when I made the recordings for Columbia, just to give you an example, the song The Doppelganger. Schubert. Und he goes up, der Mond zeigt mir meine eigene Gestalt. It's knee flat to sing, and I had, at that time, I had to turn my head. Otherwise, and besides, is the people said, we possibly could take in the volume, but the record would stand only about 10 playings, and then it will break. And then we have to think commercially.
Mm. So when a person listens to both the early electric records and the old acoustic records, the singer was not even singing at full volume. It didn't register.
Well, the only thing he could do when he sings low tones, then the microphone does not vibrate so strong. You can go a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to do that. At present time, microphone like this here, you can sing as loud as you want, then it's all right. We cannot, it is not always very pleasant. The sound is not very pleasant. For instance, when I would talk very close to the microphone here, then the tape will not sound very pleasant. We'll hear a lot of noise, but not very.
Mm-hmm.
Two questions. The first one, do you find it pleasing to sing the aria from Don Carlo and You Jamais Mamma?
Very pleasing.
Yes.
In what sense do you mean that?
I'm asking this question as a listener. I find it one of the most enjoyable bass arias in the Italian repertory, and when done well, it is just most impressive and pleasing to the ear. I find the bass voice and the baritone voice most pleasing. And is it satisfactory to you as a singer?
It's beautifully written for the voice.
This is what I'm wondering, yes.
It has a beautiful line.
Yeah.
I have a recording, my own recording. It's unfortunately it's in German.
Oh.
In German, but it is an excellent recording.
And it's well placed, and the progressions are satisfactory.
Yeah, I sang it only, Don Carlos I sang only in German.
Yeah.
I never sang it in this country.
Did
I
you
never sang
record
it.
it in Italian also?
I have, yes, but this was acoustic.
Oh, I see.
Acoustic record. I have a my Don Carlos in German is really something very, my voice is very light in color.
Yeah.
And, it's beautifully written for the voice. But unfortunately, many singers don't know how to put in the character of Philip into this aria. Philip does not sing cantilene dormi rossoi nel manto mio regal. He doesn't sing such sweet melodies. Self-pity. It is characteristic. The singer of Philip should have the courage also to sing an ugly tone in order to bring out the character. It is an aria, not that he's standing there or sitting there and sings. He has to act. He has to act with his voice too.
The opening the opening lines are most difficult because it's the very high singing right at the beginning. It seems to me to be extremely difficult to begin an aria.
No. When he begins to sing this aria, he's still in a daze. He's not there. He's completely involved in this. She has never loved me. Her heart remains cold. She has never loved me. He's not there. He's not present. Later on, about a page later, he awakens up and he says, "Where am I?" Ove son, questo pia presso a finir.
My second question, you sang Colline ever?
Oh yes.
Enjoyed singing?
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah.
I sang Colline also in German, in Vienna, in Wiesbaden, Yes, I did sing in surely.
Lovely role, lovely.
You and Toscanini were very close, and I wondered if you ever talked about the conductors of the past that Toscanini would have heard.
We did.
Did he ever talk about Nikish?
I don't recall that, but he talked about Furtwängler, he talked about Richter,
Mm-hmm.
he talked about many, many things. It's very strange, you know. The only conductor he thought, the only conductors he thought were good were the dead conductors.
Funny.
So,
I know that story.
it happened so, you know, he was still living in the Astor Hotel. And he asked a friend of ours, he wanted to see us. So we went up to him. And there he was sitting there. And he said, "Isn't it strange? All so many people are bothering me, and the people whom I wanted to see and to talk to them are not coming to me. Why are you not coming to me?" He asked me. And during this occasion, we spoke about all sorts of conductors. Um, in this little letter or little article, then you could see, I sang with him in Bayreuth. This was the first time I sang with him. This was in 1930. And there was another conductor, a very great conductor. His name was Muck,
Oh, Carl.
Karl Muck. And Karl Muck was the king, the guardian of the Grail in Bayreuth. Every other conductor was just nothing in comparison to Karl Muck. And Siegfried Wagner invited Toscanini. And here Toscanini came there. And his first opera was Tristan, where we met for the first time. And speaking about conductors, there was an enormous jealousy between the two. Not from Toscanini to Muck, but the other way around. Muck was almost dying of envy. You cannot imagine. And this little article you can see, could read a great deal. It was expressed during the rehearsals. They have built an extra conductor's room for Toscanini, and Muck couldn't stand it. Muck went to all the rehearsals on the stage just to watch Toscanini. I had a recital in Bayreuth, a joint recital. There was a soprano, Maria Müller, and myself. We gave a recital, a charity recital for elderly singers who did sing once in Bayreuth, but are in need of money. So we gave a charity concert, a joint recital, and it was in a theater called the Margrafen Theater, a Baroque, a jewel of a little theater, you know, a Baroque. I don't know if you have ever seen such a thing. It is unique. On one side was Toscanini sitting with his family and his friends, and on the other side of the audience, also in the first row, was Muck sitting with some of his friends. They didn't look at each other. They didn't greet each one. It happened that in the same year, Siegfried Wagner died. I'm not going to tell you what happened at the funeral.
You should.
I
Well,
wish you would. I wish you would.
but there was a concert a day or two later to remember Siegfried Wagner.
A memorial concert, actually.
It was in the Festspielhaus, and on the program, Toscanini conducted Siegfried's Idyll. And you have never heard such idyll. Maybe it was under the impression of Siegfried's death, because the idyll was created when Siegfried was born.
Mm.
And such playing, such penetrating, the people were sitting there in tears, listening to this. It is, like going back 50 or 55 or 60 years back and remembering when this name child was born. And after that was Mook came up and conducted the funeral march from Götterdämmerung. And Mook was old. His face was like parchment, His lips were very narrow. This is the way he spoke, You couldn't smile, This is the way, this Mook was always like that, And started the funeral march. It sounded old. It sounded like old, dry parchment. It didn't have any fire, it didn't have anything. This was expressed in sound, the difference between the two persons. This one, Toscanini, Mook. Mook, he was like a dry lemon, During this time, we didn't speak about Mook and in the Astor Hotel. Oh, we spoke about so many conductors and so many. It was amusing, to sit down there and to talk to him.
Did he ever talk about particular singers that he liked and disliked? Was he open with his views about singers?
No, he did not. But Toscanini had also a very good eye for good-looking girls. To give you an example, Milanov cancelled one of the rehearsals. She had a rehearsal in the Met, or she had something to do, she didn't come. And Toscanini was wild. It was for Missa Solemnis. And he sang during the orchestra rehearsal, he sang the soprano part with his hoarse voice, Well, so you could see out of each tone of each that you almost died of anger, that he has to do that, and that she has done this to him. Several months later, there was another repetition of Mrs. Solemnis. And Milanov was not invited. And up came, we had a rehearsal, a very good-looking American girl, green-eyed, with black hair, quite tall, and we started the rehearsal. I think it was Björling and myself. The mezzo-soprano was Torborg, I think, and this new girl came. We started to rehearse the first name, Christe, liaison, and so. She sounded awful. Her voice was as ugly as she was attractive as a, and so we went on, we rehearsed for about half an hour, and Toscanini's face was bitter and sad. And then he broke up the rehearsal and he said, all right, we'll meet tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was, I think, the 13th floor in the NBC building. And we thought he's going to throw her out of the window. She sang so badly. And to our greatest surprise, the next day at 4 o'clock, she was there. He had a rehearsal with her. I don't know what he has improved, but certainly not her voice. What?
I'm trying to think what her name was.
I don't want to have to.
Oh,
I
no.
don't want to have a name. She's still alive, maybe. I don't want to have a name.
That's very wise. One shouldn't.
No, or whatever. Yeah, that's a great story. I wondered if you talked about Nikish, only because have you ever heard the few recordings that Nikish supposedly conducted?
I sang with him.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Good heaven. That's one thing we couldn't uncover in our research.
I sang in Hamburg with him. I was a young singer. I sang a small part. I sang. I sang with him, and I saw him. I sang. It was a small part. It was not very small, but it's a good part. I sang Fidelio, the minister. You know, the Fernando, Don Fernando. I saw him later on, many years later. He was also gray in his face, playing poker. I still have a good memory for that.
Do you think it's fair, knowing the Mussorgsky music as you do, to say that he was perhaps the most advanced of the composers of his time?
Exactly. Oh yes. Oh, definitely. Mussorgsky was as a musical genius, as a musical inventor, by far ahead in originality of all the Russian composers.
That's a lovely tribute.
May I ask one final question?
Go ahead.
How do you account for the fact that Russia has produced so many great bassos?
First of all, I answered this question in a very, I would say, in a humorous. Said possibly. I said, which it's absolutely not true, because Russia has so much vodka, and drinking vodka, and maybe smoking long cigarettes makes the voice a little bit lower than it should be. But this is really not a fact. Other countries have exactly as much whiskey and vodka, and they have better cigars and longer cigars, and their voices are not as low. No, it isn't the reason. Number two, is Russia didn't bring out so many bases as more than any other country. Well, Russia has its good share, shall we say, in bases, but not there. Uh, Possibly, I don't know, Russia was not always a very happy country, and especially the people in Russia didn't have always a very happy life. Possibly an indication that the life, the misery of the Russian people for, for, for all the years lowered their mood to such a degree that they brought out so many bases.
Did you know Ezio Pinza well?
I knew him not too well, but I knew him very well. But Pinza was a nice voice, was a good artist. Um, if somebody sang in the same clef with him, he was not very. And if he happened to be a good singer, then he wasn't a friend of him, of Pinza. Pinza was a primitive man. He was intelligent. Had a good sense of acting. He was interested in his own well-being. The quality of his voice was excellent. He worked very hard. He was not a very great friend of mine. I'm a passive person. If somebody is nice and pleasant to me, I'm twice as nice and pleasant to him. But I am not outgoing in order to fall out and to embrace somebody. We sang Don Giovanni a great deal. And Leporello is trying to imitate Don Giovanni's voice. Pinza had a fast vibration in his voice, like you know. This is something like somebody who makes caricatures, has to hang on to a point. Somebody has a tiny little nose, then he makes a big nose, and other like they're doing it from about Nixon, So I had to imitate Pinza as Don Giovanni. So I came out with this long, very fast vibration. Si carina, io t'amo like si carino. So I came out loud on the stage imitating Pinza. And the people, died of laughter, They saw the caricature. And Pinza was standing behind the house. He was waiting for his chance. And he didn't like it.
Understandable, several centuries.
And then he came, after I am leaving with Donna Elvira, he comes out and he begins trying to imitate me. He did, but he didn't have very much to hang on to. He only said, io sono qui, but he started to make it very dark. But I was saying, si, carina, io caro,
How wonderful. Did you sing with Lotte Lehmann much?
Very much. Yeah. With Lotte Lehmann I sang very. As a matter of fact, I made my operatic debut on the stage with Lotte Lehmann.
At the Met?
No, in Hamburg.
Your original debut.
Yeah, I see.
originally. Then I sang with her in London. I sang with her in Berlin. I sang with Lotte Lehmann in Chicago. And I sang with Lotte Lehmann in the Metropolitan. I knew her when she was young and I was still more younger than she was. You know, she's a little older than I am, you know. And I sang with her. Oh, she is a great artist.
So just hypothetically, suppose that you were given an opportunity to say that, you know, in this room right with you, you could select any of the basses that came before you and in your time that you knew to be along with yourself to represent what you would consider the finest bass voices of this century. Who would you pick to stand with you?
Well, there was a German singer, and his name was Michael Bohnen.
Oh, yes, I know him.
I would choose him as a good actor.
Paul Plançon,
I know on his records.
is he good on the records?
Not to my taste. I would say Jonet, Yarov, but Siepi is good, but he would not be my choice. Siepi has a quality which is very, very fine. He sounds like an old man. An old man, he sings, for instance, Figaro. It sounds like an old man. Figaro is not an old man, you know.
What about tenors, if you were asked to join tenors with you?
Björling would be number one.
Even ones in the past. Would you pick Martinelli?
Yes, I would pick Martinelli. I would pick, there was a tenor, his name was Picaver. I don't know. I would like to have him. Listen,
Laurie Volpe?
I don't care very much. Gili,
Gigli, sure.
Gili, but Slezak would be.
Of course, Melchior.
Now, Melchior in his own field is unique, you know. I sang with many good tenors. There was a tenor, Urlus,
Jacques Urlus.
Jacques Urlus.
Oh,
I liked him very, very much. And I would like to have him.
Caruso?
No, Caruso is above everybody. You know, Caruso is the crown of singers. Caruso is a dream which will never be fulfilled, you know. No, Caruso is above everybody.
Never had the chance to know.
And
Battistini?
That's not good.
Battistini was,
Really should-
there was never a baritone Battistini. Tita Ruffo, but I sang
But most-
Warren,
Isn't that strange?
Tibet.
Saying with us at our table 8, it doesn't seat more comfortably.
Giuseppe De Luca?
and We go in our little den.
Giuseppe De Luca was a class by itself. He was actually more tenor than he was baritone, you
And then
know.
you get this shouting,
Gobi.
dying to tell
Tito
them where
Gobi.
they are. because
Tito
he's
Gobi,
gonna be amazed.
yes, Tito Gobi, yes, Tito Gobi, excellent actor. He acts with his voice, beautiful, yes.
He's enjoying it.
Mario Ancona, do you remember Mario Ancona?
I don't.
Mario Samarco, do you remember?
I see your memory goes quite far.
It's not as bad. I know
Jim's
that
memory goes back.
through
My memory
Pennsylvania is
comes
very
up to
bad.
the
I spoke
present.
to Brenda
We meet about
Richard today.
1920.
She
Yeah.
comes from there.
What, have you heard McCracken's Othello?
Joe's family lived in some town which is.
I heard part of it.
Someplace else. Anyway,
I don't,
there you go, they can take it.
Oh,
Sweet
that's,
card.
that
I
makes
don't
a
know,
difference.
I don't
was right
think
down
he's
their
a,
names, so I remember them because
Yeah.
I'm always
it's
so
not,
remiss
it's
about
not my
names.
taste, I would say.
Sure.
Thank you,
It's a very different.
That'd be
Yes.
fine.
Different voice.
All right, shall we make a day today?
Yes, Fine.
Are you going to send me a copy of that tape?
Yes.
Most certainly,
Yeah.
most certainly.
What's